As the country mobilized for total war, Americans at home were asked by their government to do without most of the luxuries and many of the necessities they had begun to take for granted. Everything seemed to be rationed or in short supply. Gasoline and fuel oil and rubber, bobby pins and zippers and tin foil, shoes and whiskey and chewing gum, butter and coffee and nylons and tomato ketchup and sugar, canned goods and cigarettes, and the matches needed to light them.
I guess the deep down feeling I had is that they made us sacrifice. And if we were sacrificing, we would somehow feel closer to the war effort. And I think that's really what they were trying to do, was to get your attitude in that our fighting men and women don't have these, so you shouldn't have these, and somehow you'll get tied into the war effort.
We did without during the Depression, so doing without these commodities really was not hard. Recipes were adjusted according to what you could get. Now, there were shortages all over. You could get very little white flour. Cakes were all adjusted to no sugar, very little fat or shortening of any sort. So cakes took it as hard as anything. To have a birthday cake was a real treat because it meant they had to save everything to make one cake.
Look, miss, see that? You could drive a car from Los Angeles to New York with the gas that plane burns up in just 1 hour of combat. It takes 2 million gallons of gas to send a single 1,000-bomber raid over enemy territory. That's enough to drive 1,000 private automobiles 7,500 miles a year for 4 years. Now, where would you rather see that no gas sign? At his station or here?
But many people tried to get around rationing. And a thriving black market grew up to satisfy those who couldn't do without. According to one study, 1 in every 4 retail transactions during the war was illegal.
What is there we can all do on the home front to help the men coming back and the men still over there? Make your home an arsenal for victory by fighting waste every day from now until the war is over. 1, don't waste anything. 2, buy only what is necessary. 3, salvage what you don't need. 4, share what you have.
All the old iron beds were pulled out of the garages and they were put in the metal drives. The Boy Scouts did a great deal of that. The city took up the old streetcar lines that went down Government and Dolphin Street, and we added those to the scrap pile. But everyone took part in World War II, down to the youngest child.
The Office of Civilian Defense called upon each American family to become a fighting unit on the home front. Everyone was asked to collect scrap metal from which armaments could be made. In 1 year alone, Mobile's citizens amassed 22 million pounds. Children were the most avid collectors.
The motto was wash and squash. You wash out the can, and then you've taken the top off, and then you take the bottom off, and then you put the top and the bottom together in the middle, and then you squash it, you stomp on it. And then you put these in a box, and then, I don't know if it was every week or every other week, the city would come by and they would pick up, you'd set them out on your curb, kind of like recycling now. And then the city would come by and they'd pick up all these tin cans.
In Sacramento, 22 big victory bins were set up on downtown street corners for the duration, even though some people thought they were unsightly. Laverne, Minnesota, had been founded by Civil War veterans. But now, the town council volunteered to melt down the cannonballs that formed part of the memorial to the Union dead to make munitions for the new conflict. And in Waterbury, Connecticut, 281,135 pounds of tin were collected, along with 65,000 pounds of rubber, 225,458 pounds of rags, and 372,733 pounds of fat.
If you were lucky enough to get a pound of bacon, for example, and you get the fat in there, you were supposed to pour that into a tin can and then take it down to the salvage guy. Now, I couldn't for the life of me figure out how are they going to make ammunition out of bacon fat.
All of this we knew made ammunition, but we didn't know how. But anything to help the boys.
Fats make glycerin, and glycerin makes explosives. Every year, 2 billion pounds of waste kitchen fats are thrown away. Enough glycerin for 10 billion rapid-fire cannon shells. A belt 150,000 miles long, 6 times around the earth. A skillet of bacon grease is a little munitions factory.